What's good, YouTube? It's your main man, AB the Hero, back again with another video. And today we're going to watch this clip from NBA TV where Greg Anthony. Now, I believe this is an important perspective because Greg Anthony, who is the father of Cole Anthony, one of LaMelo Ball's potential rivals throughout his NBA career, is giving his perspective on LaMelo's growth with the Charlotte Hornets. And so I want to really look and listen to this. And this is also a video I have not watched previous to us watching it together for the first time. So we'll get into this reaction. Let's go.
My dude, AB the Hero. Well, we getting it down in the Ball State, baby.
AB, way to get out of the way. Get out of the way. What do you thought about that, Jay? I like that. I told you, he's a hustler for it.
Let's go. I'm out.
Alright, so like always, man, we start these videos by saying, yo, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell on the channel. We keep the content coming. We talk basketball, we talk the Big Baller brand, we talk LaMelo, Zoe, Jello, all of those things, and just sports in general, and what I like to call the culture. So if you're down with that, make sure you subscribe. We are on our way to 7,000 subs. We're trying to get to 10,000, so jump in with the fam and be that 7,000, be that 10,000 sub. Let's go. Alright, so here's the video, and like I said, this is NBA TV, Greg Anthony and a few other folks on the panel, and they're talking about Melo's journey with the Charlotte Hornets. I have not watched this video, so we're going to be pausing it and watching it together for the first time. Let's go.
Well, GA, when I look at the Charlotte Hornets right now and I think of their excitement, it's coming from that third overall pick, LaMelo Ball. I mean, how do you think he's performed early in the season and even tonight?
When you think of the Charlotte Hornets, it's coming from the excitement from the third overall pick, LaMelo Ball, which is crazy that that same player that is providing you all of the excitement that you would want to have is coming off the bench.
I think he's been spectacular. And I love how they brought him.
My dog, Greg Anthony, with that blue suit on, that sky blue, he looking like a baby powder from How High.
Along, he has an advantage because they've got a pretty solid backcourt that has a little bit of experience. When you look at Rozier and Graham, you bring in, one of the better players in our league, in Gordon Hayward, to really kind of stabilize that starting five. And so he's able to come in, and they also have great athletes, guys that can play a ball.
Now, what I believe makes this also interesting is, like I talked about with Cole Anthony, which is Greg Anthony's son for the Orlando Magic, is a guy who is his rookie season in the starting lineup currently. Now, obviously, that's due to injury from Markelle Fultz, but it's interesting to hear how right now he thinks that LaMelo coming off the bench is kind of ideal for him, and I'm curious to know if he feels the same way about his son Cole Anthony starting right now in Orlando, and if maybe that's a detriment to his career, or if he feels like that's actually a good space for him. But if what's good for the goose ain't good for the gander.
Above the rim, which I think is catered to his great passing ability. I like his shot selection overall. I think he's played really, really well. They have
shot selection. I'm glad he said that, because if you go back to any video of me talking about Melo, addressing any criticism or hate that he may have had prior to this, a lot of it was that shooting percentage and how low it was in some of his other stops. And I attributed all of that to shot selection. The shot selection that he will be able to get in the NBA will be better than the shot selection that he was afforded in a lot of the other spaces that he played in before. So I'm glad that he addressed that the shot selection is something that he is happy with.
Have to be pleased with his impact. And I think overall, as a whole, Charlotte has played some good basketball. Now, they haven't shot it as well all season as they'd like in the backcourt, particularly with Graham. He's had his struggles, but overall.
Now, so it's also interesting because you talk about earlier, you like Graham and the veteran leadership in that backcourt and some of that play, but you address that one of their biggest ailments to this season is being his shooting.
Oh, I like how this team competes. I think they've improved from a season ago, and they're going to have a chance if they can stay healthy and continue to compete defensively to make a push for that postseason.
I think that that's a beautiful thing because what we do know is a lot of the critique around Melo as well was his defense. And where do you play him? How do you put him on the court? He's going to be a defensive liability. And you mess around and have a Charlotte Hornets team that's a top 5 defensive squad with Melo playing significant minutes and potentially being somebody who could play more. So, and that not being the reason why you don't want him on the court at times.
Yeah, I think, man, I watch this young man play. I think at some point they're going to have to figure out how to get him in that starting lineup because their quality of shots when he's on the floor is just so much better. Not to take anything away from the other guards, but when he's on the floor, the quality of shots, on-time target passing, it's just he makes everybody better and he gives everybody cleaner look. So at some point, they're going to have to think about putting him in that starting lineup because the offense just flows so much better, and then people get easier looks when he's on the floor.
I like what my dog is saying to you because that's what I'm seeing. They legitimately go from in the first quarter, at times in the first 6 minutes, they will have scored 4 to 6 points. Melo will come in and in the next 6 minutes they'll score 20 plus points. And what you see is it's not that they're not getting shots in the first 6 minutes. They're just getting better shots. They're in better position to score in the final 6 minutes when Melo is on the court, just from his facilitation and the spacing that he then creates, being a shooter who's knocking stuff down. Earlier, he talked about Graham missing the shot. And we've seen from watching Lonzo, in the NBA, if you streaky and you start missing shots, they will give it to you. And they will help elsewhere. So we've seen Graham be effective facilitating, but not knocking down shots. Definitely stalls the offense out at a bit of a time because they know that you can pick and roll, you can do all that stuff, and your 3-point, the one of your threats is not available anymore.
Well,
I don't. No, go ahead, Chris.
No, you go ahead, GA. We're going to take a look at the last minute of the game after you make your point.
Yeah, no, I
These dudes here, what is my man on the left? That suit is kind of crazy as well. There's some interesting suits happening right now on NBA TV.
Actually, not that I don't think he's worthy of starting, but I think their team is better right now with him coming off the bench.
Here's the thing about that is the team looks better right now with him coming off the bench because we haven't seen him in the starting lineup, right? So if you have a guy who is a great player, and it's like LeBron James, you could take LeBron James off the starting lineup of the Los Angeles Lakers, and when the second unit comes in, it's going to look like a different ball club, right? And you could say to yourself, damn, I don't know if we should take him off because he's playing so good in that second unit and he looks great. Like, do we put LeBron in the starting lineup? And you'll be a fool not to.
Because he's so good at making plays with that second unit, if you put him in a starting unit, he's not going to have the ball for stretches as much.
So here's what I have noticed, and I can tell that. And I'm not sure why they did this interview with Greg Anthony, but you can tell the difference between him and the other two guys is they actually watch Hornets basketball a decent amount. And if you look, as I mentioned before, you look at the starting rotations, right? The first 6 minutes, they pretty much play the starters. Then they bring in Miles Bridges and they bring in LaMelo to close out the quarter. And maybe make some adjustments later in that with they will pull out they'll pull out Graham and they'll pull out Bismack, I believe it is, and then let Miles run it with PJ Washington and Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier. That's pretty much the starting lineup. So what he's telling you is that he doesn't think Melo should play in that starting lineup because in the second lineup he gets afforded more opportunity when truthfully when he comes in as the sixth man and jump starts the offense, it is essentially the same starting lineup minus the guy who he's replacing. So what he would have you to believe is that Terry Rozier, who would score 40 a couple times this season, Gordon Hayward, who scored 40 a couple times this season, may affect Melo's ability to get shots. When all actuality, Melo playing on the court with them has enabled them to have the great games that they've had. And so I could tell that my man Greg does not watch a ton of Hornets basketball this season.
But I just think that their team is better the way they function right now with them coming off the bench. And what you do is what Coach Borrego's done. Like when he's playing well, you just let him keep playing. And I think that's the one area I think they've done a really good job at is, when you got young players who are really talented, when they are playing well, you ride them. You let them play. You let them build confidence and let them get experience. And then if it isn't going as well, it's easy to pull them because that's, I think, the best approach with the great young talents. And they're winning basketball games and competing. So
I want to hear him talk about, though, and this is the thing that folks are not addressing and he's not addressing, is that there's a slow start. In the games that they have lost, it's because the offense has stalled immediately out the gate, and it is taking Melo to get them in there and then letting him rock out and finish the game that has kept him into games closer. And I don't mean just him, but I mean like I said, getting other guys going. So in some of Devontae Graham's best games happened when him and Melo was on the court together and Melo was feeding him, getting him in rhythm shots and getting him going. Gordon Hayward, the same thing. Melo throwing that full court pass to him having to be able to catch it and just turn around and score easy mid-range bucket. Jump starts the offense for him and a lot of these guys going forward. So I hear what Greg Anthony is saying, but he is missing the fact that they're deficient in the starting lineup. And I think that that's where me and a lot of folks kind of bump heads with our opinions, is because I understand the ideal of bringing a rookie along and, like he said, if he's hot, riding him, if he's not, being able to pull him. But when you're deficient in your starting lineup and you have your second unit that looks better than your first unit at times, then you have to start experimenting with different rotations and lineups, and that's something that I believe that James Borrego is just afraid to do, right? And we'll get back to what Greg is saying here because y'all know I'll run off on a tangent here, but I think that obviously it's about Devontae Graham and him maintaining his mentality and being with the team and all of that stuff in the contract year and him getting his minutes, because if we don't get you in that starting lineup and Melo starts the game hooping, like he said, if you're balling, we gotta ride you. And if he start the game balling, we might have to ride him, and that's gonna look bad for Devontae.
You got to also make sure everybody's in a good place with how this team functions. I just like their chemistry overall, and I think ultimately, obviously, he's going to be probably the face of that franchise. I think right now, though, you milk the experience that he's getting of playing well and your team playing at a higher level.
All right, so I think that that's one of the things that I feel like folks already don't address enough when they start talking about Melo and they start talking about experience. One of the things that he has more than most rookies is experience playing in multiple levels, multiple leagues, for multiple teams, and now has NBA experience and is executing at a high level. And I believe that it is hard for any player to be in a position where somebody says to you, bro, you can earn these minutes, and you believe that you're earning those minutes, and despite you earning the minutes, you're still not getting the shot that you believe that you deserve. But one of the things that I always give Melo credit for is having a tough mental. The kid has been through a lot when it comes to basketball in his career, and from starting to coming off the bench to not playing and all of that stuff. So hopefully him and his team and the folks he has around him is keeping his eyes on the prize, and he is hooping like we know he can do, and staying focused on the game. But Shemaine, man.
No, not Pete's. +1, triple beats. We out.
There it is.